Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the PCA HCCN Professional Development Series, hosted here by the Association of Clinicians for the Underserved. We are thrilled to be welcoming you back at session 4 of a 6-part series and talking to you today about a subject near and dear to my own heart, National Cooperative Agreements. Hey, that's me. I'm Allison, or at least I'm the non-cartoon version of Allison. I'm the Vice President of Training and Programs here at ACU. As you know already, since you've been with us before, we're that recruitment and retention nonprofit. We are focused on growing the numbers and supporting clinicians to solve the problem of access to care through a number of activities. Of course, this series is brought to you by our Bureau of Primary Healthcare funded project, the STAR Center. Don't worry, you're going to hear a lot more about that. You may feel like you're an expert now because you've heard me talk about it so much over the last 5 years, but don't worry, more is coming. I'm joined in this work at the STAR Center and at ACU by my colleagues Suzanne and Mariah, who hopefully you've been getting to know over this series and over your interactions with the STAR Center. If not, keep an eye out for these names and emails. They really are the ones who know everything and keep it running here. So Mariah actually is on the line with us today, and she's going to be providing that web support. So if you have any problems or questions, you can ask her. We'll flash her details again in a moment. Of course, I have to give you a few notes about the housekeeping. We are recording, so just keep that in mind. If you want to ask a question, it will be recorded. We hope you do ask lots of questions. Interaction is the main thing that makes talking into this void during a webinar seem a little bit normal. So we really appreciate your engagement throughout. Feel free to drop questions into that questions or the chat box or raise your hand. And of course, we'll have fun. I'm certainly planning on having a good time over the next hour, and I hope you will join me. We're going to keep it fun. We're going to keep it peppy. We're going to keep it snappy. So stay with us. Of course, if you have questions about either the content, but also the technology, please be in touch. Here's Mariah's email again, and of course, you can reach her through the chat pod and let her know if you're having problems. We are happy to be getting together again kind of in this series that's really focused on helping build your workforce expertise as a PCA or HCCN staffer, sharing successes that you all have, and of course connecting you with others. So I think one of our presenters is actually at an integrated work strategies meeting today, and it kind of replaced the workforce series that they used to hold. And so if you were a PCA staffer that used to go to that IWS meeting, we hope that this in some way fills some of the void in your life and you feel like you get to connect with your workforce people. I am excited about today because we have a lot to do. We're jumping into the topic of National Cooperative Agreements. We have heard a lot of questions about them. ACU itself has had a National Cooperative Agreement for over almost 5 years now, and we still get lots of questions. What are they? What do they mean? How do they all fit together? What's the deal? So I'm going to spend the first half of this webinar here today talking about the landscape of National Cooperative Agreements, identifying some resources that are available to you today. And then also you're going to hear from two other folks who work at different organizations that receive a National Cooperative Agreement. So we want to get a good sense, though, before we get going into that piece about what your basic familiarity is right now with organizations that receive an NCA and how you're engaging with them right now. So you should see a poll on your screen. Thank you, Mariah. Does your organization currently collaborate with any organizations that have a National Cooperative Agreement? You have, I'm not sure. You have a not during this past program year maybe, or yes, I know of one partner we work with that has a National Cooperative Agreement, or yes, we work with 2+ orgs with National Cooperative Agreements. And I'm going to think of that a little bit as your expertise track. So take a peek at those and put your answers in there. Mariah will have you close that in about 10 seconds. But this is really a chance for us to understand kind of how you're oriented with organizations that receive NCAs and how you sort of work with them right now. And so that'll help us figure out how to navigate the landscape with you. And hopefully at the end of this, you will get some more support from all of the resources available to you. So it looks like we've closed the poll, and a lot of you are working with an organization with an NCA, and most of you are working with more than one. So I feel very excited by that, and I'm going to kind of act accordingly. Of course, we'll look forward to your feedback as we go to see if you're thinking, hey, wait, I have some questions, you're going too fast. So, National Cooperative Agreements, what a mystery, am I right? They're sort of out there, some organizations have them, it's not clear how they all fit together. That's really what we kind of want to untangle for you as best I can, at least today. National Cooperative Agreements are just one of these extensions of what HRSA's Bureau of Primary Health Care calls their strategic partnerships. And so those are, of course, primary care associations. There are also HCCNs, Health Center Controlled Networks, and there are NCAs. And so they're supposed to sort of fit in this constellation of strategic partnerships, TTA providers, and other groups that are in that space. And there's a link here, and these slides are available in the handout section of the GoTo control panel. So you can download those and click all the live links in this presentation, but you can sort of click there and sort of see how BIFF thinks about strategic partners. As you all know already, PCAs and HCCNs are very different, and NCAs are also different from those, right? That's why they're part of this constellation. So a couple of key features that we really want to highlight with you about what that really means are sort of these three items here. So number one, most organizations that have an NCA, and I guess I'll go all the way to all of the organizations, all 20 of the organizations that receive a National Cooperative Agreement are national. So the NCA itself is really a grant mechanism and not necessarily a designation. So an example would be, you know, many of you are at primary care associations and you are the official designated primary care association for your state. That's not exactly how an NCA works. And so we're doing a lot of work kind of as a community of people internal to the National Cooperative Agreement world, but also outside of, to emphasize the difference between our organization has an NCA and our organization is an NCA. So a good example of that is the STAR Center, the project that you've always heard about. That is a project of ACU. So ACU has an NCA, and that NCA supports the STAR Center. And it's really important to kind of think about that difference when you're thinking about organizations with NCAs, because there's sometimes confusion about, hey, this person is an NCA, but they charge for stuff, or this person is an NCA, and so I have certain expectations for them related to the Bureau of Primary Health Care. And that difference of the NCA being the grant mechanism and not necessarily the designation helps to make that a little bit clear. The second thing we want to hit is that each organization and each actual NCA, actual cooperative agreement, is focused really on a specific population or area. All but one of the NCAs that the Bureau awards has a specific focus area. So it's not usually grounded often as PCAs are in the geographic area, and it's not supposed to be meant, they're not all focused on a specific topic like health IT for a lot of HCCNs. So that's kind of different. And the third big thing is that they focus on a variety of needs and don't usually have official member minimums or geographical elements. So, you know, HCCN grants, you have to have a certain number of members. So there's not those kinds of minimums that come up with HCCNs or PCN grants. So it's actually just a different type of cooperative agreement that the Bureau puts out into the world to support health centers. And it's a little bit of a different animal, but I think very familiar once you start to think about it a little bit. There are three types of National Cooperative Agreements that the Bureau makes. So I mentioned there's 20 organizations that receive a National Cooperative Agreement. They're actually split up into these three categories. So you'll see there's 13 different organizations that receive a Special and Vulnerable Populations NCA. There's 6 organizations that receive a Health Center Development NCA. There's 1 organization that receives the National Resource Center for Health Center TPA NCA. We think really understanding each of their goals is going to help you understand where they fit into the larger TTA landscape and which activities might fall under their NCA rather than be a part of their regular business. So there's going to be a lot of information coming at you shortly, a lot of text here. I'm not going to read all of it, but we are going to cover the themes. And again, you can download these handouts and spend some time later. But I hope as we go through, you're going to kind of look at the big categories and see, yeah, I sort of see how, even if I don't necessarily see how they fit together, I see how I, at a PCA or an HCCN, can connect with them to get resources either for myself or for health centers. So that first category, I mentioned there were 13 organizations that received this type of NCA for special and vulnerable POPs. You know, again, all of these links are live for your reference later, but the main thing that's important is those categories in the blue blocks there. So there's 5, the Bureau gives out 5 NCAs for migratory and seasonal agricultural workers. They give out 2 NCAs for people experiencing homelessness, 2 for residents of public housing, and then 4 for vulnerable populations. And then within each of these buckets, depending on that specific organization that receives that NCA and how long they've had it, they have either worked together or are starting to work together to kind of be coordinated within that bucket. So the 5 in the migratory and seasonal agricultural workers bucket, they've all those organizations have had an NCA for a long time, and they've really worked together and do a lot of coordinated TTA, and each sort of have their own space within that. And so they're a great example of organizations actually working together to say, hey, we all receive an NCA, let's make sure we're not being duplicative. Other organizations are brand new. I want to highlight the National Center for Equitable Care for Elders. They just received their first NCA in the last funding cycle, and that's actually out of Harvard. So this is an example of Harvard, the organization, received this Vulnerable POPs NCA to set up this National Center for Equitable Care for Elders. So they're sort of new and just orienting themselves within the space. The main thing that all 13 of these have in common is their goals. They all have the same goals. So when you think about goals as in the Bureau of Primary Health Care's cooperative agreement goals and the ones you have to write your activities for, these 3 may look familiar. A lot of them are like PCA and HCCN goals. So, you know, they have increased access to care as a big goal, improve health outcomes. That's actually where the diabetes measure comes in. So we've heard a lot from primary care associations specifically saying, hey, how are we supposed to control diabetes? And it's sort of a big conversation. All the special POPs NCAs also have that goal focused on diabetes. They also have a second optional goal of improving health outcomes for hypertension, colorectal cancer screening, or cervical cancer. So you'll see a lot of these special and vulnerable POPs goals are the same as goals you may have in your own cooperative agreement. So there are 13 of these organizations. They're all doing BIPIC supported activities along the lines of these same 3 goals, but then all for their own focus populations. So you have all these folks working kind of much similarly to you, but all these groups working together. And then you have the next type of NCA that gives out, which is the Health Center Development NCA. And there are 6 of those, and each of those have different goals. So buckle in, friends. It's only going to get more exciting and not confusing at all. And so there are 6 of these. Each of these have different goals from not only each other, but they're also different from the special POPs types of NCA. And all of these are focused more on specific topic areas rather than populations. So Community Health Center, Inc., one of our fabulous guest speakers for today, you're going to hear a lot more about that, but they're really focused on workforce because, you know, we're workforce people. We want to talk about that. They're workforce folks focused on pipeline development and utilization of team-based practice models. So that's what their NCA is about. Now remember, Community Health Center, Inc. does lots of other things. It's not the NCA, but that's what their NCA is about. The Clinical Workforce Development, Recruitment, and Retention NCA, that's the one that ACU gets to fund the STAR Center. You can see we're very highly focused on recruitment and retention. Those are sort of our goals, and we don't have the diabetes measure, and we don't have some of the other pieces that naturally fit in necessarily with the Special TOPS NCA or maybe goals that you have in your cooperative agreement. Capital Link, you all may be familiar with them. They're focused on capital development growth, so improving operations and infrastructure. You also see that some of their capital development partnerships are focused on social determinants of health. So that's kind of an interesting and newer focus area for Capital Link through the NCA and ties in with some of the other things you'll see. The High Tech Center, that's focused on EHR capabilities, EHR to report UDS, and health IT system transformation. High Tech Center is a project of John Snow, Inc., which you all may have heard of. And High Tech's interesting, too, because their main goal is to help primary care associations and HCCNs. So some of us really focused on Health Center, TTA. High Tech Center really focuses on PCA, HCCN, TTA, and they do that on the health info technology and data side. You've got the other two that round out this category, which is the National Network for Oral Health Access. Surprise, they're focused on oral health, and National Center for Medical Legal Partnerships, which of course are focused on medical legal partnerships, but again, you'll see they're focused as well on health equity and social determinants of health. And so, all of these have different goals from each other and different goals from special populations. No wonder it's confusing. But you can start to see, once you see when it's laid out this way, that each organization has an NCA that has specific goals associated with it that sometimes do, but not always do, relate back to other work they're doing as an organization. So there's also that third one I mentioned, and that's the, I say this, of course, with pride, sort of the catch-all NCA that covers many more topics and actually receives more money for activities than all the health center development NCAs combined. And that is that last type of NCA, which is the National Resource Center for Health Center, TTA. That has one recipient, and that is NACHC, who is also on the line today to share with you what they're doing on workforce. They have, I think it's technically 7 with some sub-bullets, 7 goals, and they're sort of big and broad, advancing organizational excellence, promoting improved clinical outcomes. That's the one for them that hits diabetes. And I just wanted to highlight these last two because they're the workforce ones. Promoting health center leadership development to drive clinical and operational improvement, and that's basically C-suite leadership development. And then increasing operational workforce competency through effective training strategies, and that's really all the non-clinical staff training. And so that's where workforce fits into this NCA. They also have some sort of, Gerard's going to tell you more about that, but they also have some interesting other ones, and I wanted to highlight here, establishing and operationalizing a TTA resource clearinghouse and developing what they call a continuous health center learning system. And so we're going to cover that in the next session, but I wanted to show you that it's actually here coded into this NCA. And so that's how a lot of these decisions and groups and partnerships kind of come to be, is because what is in our National Cooperative Agreements, how are we supposed to work together, and how does it make sense to work together based on the type of NCA we have. That was a lot, and I'm really here to make sure you know the workforce NCAs and feel comfortable in landscape. You can reference all that stuff later. So I think the key things I'm hoping you'll take from this is when you are looking for workforce resources and you want to know which organization has which NCA to do which workforce work, you can kind of come to this slide. And so you'll see Community Health Center, Inc., they do pipeline and team-based care. ACU, we do clinician recruitment and retention, and NACHC has leadership and non-clinical staff development. So that's how we're all sort of working on workforce, but we're all working on different elements of workforce, and we're all working on different pieces that hopefully fit together. I did want to show my favorite little beaker. I think I show them every presentation. It may feel like a lot, and it may feel really easy because you all are really familiar with NCAs and the NCA landscape, or it may feel like a lot to figure out, but we are working as a group. We, as National Cooperative Agreement holders, are working as a group to make navigating our resources a little bit easier. And that's when we come to the National Resource Center. So you notice the goals in NACHC section that they were charged with being something like the backbone organization for 2 big collaborative projects. And so even though it's not in any other NCAs, that specific goal, we're sort of all compelled to participate and work together. We've banded together to create something called the National Resource Center. Yes, you're right. It is confusing because that's the same name of NACHC NCA, but this is what we're called, the National Resource Center. And we are focused on sort of 2 big collaborative projects across this 3-year program period that you should definitely know about and have opportunities to engage with. We have different ways of engaging with each other. We have one main advisory group that has all 20 people. We also have project working groups that have, frankly, most of those 20 people also on them. And then we do some cross-promotion. So this does a lot of actual concrete work, but also is focused on building bridges for other collaborations. You know, this National Resource Center that we do together is not comprehensive of all types of collaborations we have together, but it is a great place to get started. A lot of you are working with more than 2 organizations with NCAs, which is great, and there's always more to do. And so we want to share, of course, the Health Center Resource Clearinghouse. Instead of going to all of our individual websites and searching all of our different resource centers, we came together to create the Health Center Resource Clearinghouse. It's supposed to be like a one-stop shop of, I'll call it NCA plus resources. So they're resources that were either funded through National Cooperative Agreements, or they're from other partners that NCA organizations work with and kind of have said, yep, this is good stuff. The important thing is that it's free. So that includes all of those resources. It also includes lots more information on all the organizations with NCAs. There's a whole NCA directory. There's links to all our websites. And we're also now wading into triaged TA requests. So health centers or you guys or whoever can write in on that website at healthcenterinfo.org and request technical assistance on something. And we're working on getting a system so that we have a really robust response to you. Here's the home screen, so you can just see what it looks like and kind of see our pretty Health Center Resource Clearinghouse logo. This is also a great place for you to get workforce resources from any NCAs that don't necessarily have workforce written into their NCA. So an example is MHP Salud. They are a national organization that receives an NCA for migratory and seasonal agricultural workers. They do a lot of work on community health workers. Obviously, community health workers are an important part of the workforce puzzle, and so they're really the place to go if you're interested in that specific aspect of the workforce. So instead of having to know all these 20 websites, this is a place you can go now to kind of find anything and everything workforce, and then you just go from there, and you can dive deeper and work with all of these organizations. The other big project we're doing halfway through is the National Resource Center Needs Assessment. So ACU has never done a national needs assessment of health centers because we have our data profiles, but many other organizations were doing annual needs assessments of health centers. So aside from your PCA or HCCN surveying them, all these different organizations were also surveying them. The idea was to have one unified national needs assessment. It was fielded in the fall, I think over like 6 weeks in fall 2018, and 56% of health centers participated, which is great. And we're just now analyzing that. So we're doing some data review of that survey material, and then there's also focus groups coming soon. So that will be pretty interesting, and I think more to come. We are very grateful to have 2 or 3 primary care associations, Connecticut, California, and New York, on the National Resource Center group right now, and I think we're always looking for ways to engage with PCAs and HCCNs. And so you'll hear more about the results of this needs assessment and what we're doing with it. We're trying to build collaborative activities together and also share it out with other TTA providers. I hope you'll sense that the goal of really all of this is to have all of us working together better with each other and with you. And we really want to make sure that we're not just making things that go out into a void, that we're making things that your health centers need, that we need, that you need, and then we're finding ways to actually connect all the dots. So I want to see if y'all were paying attention. Before I turn the reins over to Amanda, Mariah's launching this poll now. This is where you have to be honest with me though, guys. I'm being serious. The question is, I know what the Health Center Resource Clearinghouse is and where to find it. Your options are so true, 100%, I got it. Option B, about half of that is right. I know what the clearinghouse is. I may not know where to find it or vice versa. And C, you're gonna have to remind me later. I have to be honest with you, this is a little bit of a trick. We're definitely going to remind you later. But let's see if you were paying attention, / if you already knew everything I was talking about and you're feeling good about it. So Mariah, close that poll and let's see what the people said. Oh yeah, so true. I like it. You guys know what I need. I also got some for half of that is right, and you're going to have to remind me later. Thanks, guys. That's like planting a person in the audience so that I get to say, hey, what was that thing we mentioned earlier? Okay, I've been going on for a while. You can tell I'm worked up about this issue. I love thinking about all the work we're doing together, but now I do want to hand the microphone over to two other folks today, and they're going to tell you about their NCA-supported workforce efforts. We're going to start with Community Health Center, Inc. I'm joined by the one, the only Amanda Schiessl. And she's going to tell you a little bit, I told you a little bit about them earlier, but she's going to tell you a lot about them and sort of how you as a PCA or HCCN can get involved with their NCA and get going.
All right. Thank you so much, Allison, and thank you to ACU for inviting me today. I'm very excited to be here with everybody, depending on where you are. Good morning, good afternoon, who really knows, right? But I wanted to just reiterate, I am from Community Health Center Incorporated in the Weitzman Institute. We're located in Connecticut, and I am the project director on the National Cooperative Agreement on Clinical Workforce Development. And just as a reminder, once again, Amanda Schiessl, project director of the National Cooperative Agreement. I'm going to tell you all about our health center. So Community Health Center is located in Connecticut, and we are a statewide organization. We provide comprehensive primary health care across the state, as you can see on the map, and it's at 14 main sites with others opening, so it's going to be 15. We see about 100,000 patients a year, and we have hundreds of school-based health centers. We have healthcare for the homeless. We have a center for key population, which houses our Ryan White program also. So as a health center, we have 3 foundational pillars: clinical excellence, research and development, and training the next generation. And in the ode to research and development, we actually created a research institute. And the research institute is the Weitzman Institute. It's very focused on providing research, innovation, education and training across the country. And based on the map, you can see really the spread of all of our types of programs, and specifically speaking to a few of them, you may have engaged with them. A lot of organizations have worked with them in the past, so you may have heard the health center speak about that. But we have our nurse practitioner residency program, which is the first in the country. We have our Project ECHO. We have our clinical e-consults network. We have the National Institute of Medical Assisting Advancement. And then we have the National Cooperative Agreement, which Allison beautifully spoke about earlier in the presentation. So not to repeat everything, so I thought I'd pull something different. So Allison spoke about how National Cooperative Agreements are providing technical and training assistance to health centers across the country, and we're specifically focused on training the next generation in team-based care. So I thought with an example is we normally run a variety of learning collaboratives. And these learning collaboratives are months long, and they're intensive experiences where we're helping you either implement a postgraduate residency program or implement a model of team-based care. And how that works is we have once a month, we have a 90-minute learning session where we're sharing that knowledge, and we have our content experts who are really putting that collaborative effort within the knowledge, having you really speak about what you're doing throughout the months and really sharing the knowledge in those moments. And then as you're completing the deliverables, you're going to a weekly or bi-weekly session with the coach mentors, and you get to collaborate with other health centers, and it's really an intensive experience to really see transformation and to see change. And so we normally offer two currently team-based care and postgraduate residency, which could be for postdocs, it could be for family nurse practitioners and psychiatric nurse practitioners. So that's an example of one of the activities that we do. We also have a national learning library, and it is housed on our website. Also, you can find it through the clearinghouse, as Allison had said. And this is actually where everything is housed, all of the webinars that we've ever done. So another activity that we do is national webinars, and they're based on actually 3 different topics currently. So residency training, team-based care, and then the last is training health profession students. And I would definitely urge you to let everyone know that you're working with that this is a resource to go and watch. You can watch it at any time. You can download the slides. You can really engage with that National Learning Library. Some upcoming of events that are coming is we do have a couple of webinar series that are coming this spring. Specifically upcoming, we have a webinar series on behavioral health and integrated care settings. And then we will have another series on team-based care. So keep an eye out for that. Other things that we do, lots of research, poster presentations, conferences, and also we have put out a book, so you can see that on our National Learning Library also. So I urge you to go check out the website, chc1.com/NCA. And I'm very excited to pass it over to Gerrard Jolly at the National Association of Community Health Centers.
Thank you very much, Amanda and Allison, and it's great to be on with you all today. Our PCA and HCCN friends out there, thanks for the opportunity to chat with you. My name is Gerrard Jolly. I am the, let's see here, I am with the National Association of Community Health Centers, and I would hope that I would not sound like a jerk if I were to say that I trust that all of you are familiar with NACC. We are your partner in helping to support community health centers and the work that you're doing, and we'll talk a little bit more about some of the specific work that NACC does in that arena. I am looking to move us. There we are. Excellent. So my name is Gerrard Jolly. I am the lead on non-clinical workforce efforts for NACC. And I've been tucked away in the organization for about 11 years now, working on workforce in various capacities, and am excited to always collaborate with my colleagues, Amanda and Allison, on this workforce effort, and to talk to you today about NACC's National Cooperative Agreement, and particularly our workforce efforts in that arena. I think Allison did a great job of highlighting and covering a good deal of what the National Resource Clearinghouse is for NACC, and NACC's role as the National Resource Center under its NCA. And so she gives me more time to talk about what we're doing from a workforce perspective. I seem to be having, there we are, thank you. All right, little bit about NACC. As you all are likely aware, we're your partner in providing advocacy, education, training, and technical assistance to health centers. And largely because of the role that we played in being a convener of health centers and their partners over the years, we were selected to develop, in collaboration with our NCA partners, the National Resource Center. So we are in the process, as Allison highlighted very thoroughly for us, as a matter of fact, the work under that clearinghouse effort as a national resource center for training and technical assistance. So we are working to bring together a number of the resources that you guys will find beneficial and useful to you in accomplishing your work. Under our NCA, NAC handles a number of workforce-specific focus areas. Allison highlighted some of our goals under our workforce: advancing organizational excellence, promoting health center leadership development, increasing operational workforce competencies. And the way that we try to achieve those goals, the areas in which we focus under those are really when it comes to leadership development for the C-suite, helping to develop and refine core competencies for those folks so that they are essentially peer-developed standards for an effective leader in the community health center world. We work with advisory councils made up of folks from health centers, PCAs. I'm trying to think if we had networks on those advisory councils for the core competencies. I don't know if we have, but I think if we haven't, there's a great opportunity to be able to do that as we move forward in some of the development of core competencies for chief operating officers and chief information officers going forward. So, we work to really try to work with health centers to build some of those standards through core competencies. We've developed those for CEOs, CFOs, clinical leaders, quality coaches as well. And as I noted, we're looking to develop additional core competencies in the future. One of the things that we, as a convener, have the opportunity to be able to do is to really highlight the efforts that you in the field are putting forth in the area of workforce training and development, and really skills development. So we are, and we'll talk a little bit about an effort that we're going to be taking on just next month with our Workforce Summit. And those types of our conferences, as well as trainings and other events, allow opportunities for discussion and really determination of how to practically apply and address challenges that are being faced in the area of workforce from a peer learning perspective. So we're always excited to work collaboratively with you in those areas and efforts. I want to highlight as well some examples of ways that we have worked to achieve those various goals. A couple of examples here, and I already touched on our core competencies that we've developed. We also, after those core competencies have been developed, we work with collaborators to develop curriculum based on those core competencies that we can then provide training for new leaders to be able to come in and have a short onboarding, if you will, in terms of their leadership roles, and to be able to move forward very quickly in understanding what the aspects of their role are and how to be an effective leader, and also how to connect with other peers who are experiencing some of the same learning and development aspects, challenges, and connect those with more experienced leaders in the health centers already and in PCAs, so that they're able to short circuit some of the challenges that they face. We've worked to bring those peers together through a graduate network that provides an online community for graduates of those trainings to be able to continue to communicate with one another long after they have completed those trainings, to receive mentoring or to become mentors themselves of the next generation of leaders, as well as to provide leadership refresher trainings for those folks. And then another way in which we work on being able to really elevate the work that's being done in the field is through publishing various case studies to highlight the training efforts that have been done. Most recently, training partnerships between health centers, PCAs, and colleges and universities that are designed to really help health centers to continue to grow and retain their own and move them through the ranks as they seek to advance in their careers within the health center community. I note the Health Center Resource Clearinghouse here as an example activity primarily because the resources that have been developed in these various examples are going to be in the clearinghouse if they aren't already. So you'll be able to access those resources as you need to. What do we have coming up in 2019? Our Workforce Summit is kicking off next month, and we are looking forward and excited to being able to address some of the challenges and really highlight some of the efforts that health centers are utilizing to be able to overcome some of the challenges they're facing in the areas of pipeline development, leadership, recruitment, retention, diversity, and other areas. And as part of that Workforce Summit, we're going to be having a broad discussion of vision for health centers and the health center workforce of the future by pulling together some of the key administrators of BIFIC, the Bureau of Health Workforce, of the Federal Office of Rural Health Policy, to really share what their vision is and to have a broader discussion of how at the national, state, and local level, we can all work together to be able to achieve those visions of the health centers and workforce for the future. So we hope that you'll be able to join us there. We work with our colleagues at ACU and at CHC Inc. to help put that together, and we're excited to make that available. And the registration is now open. So check out that site and learn more about the Workforce Summit that'll be coming up soon. We also in 2019 are going to be working to place some of the core competencies that we developed into an online learning community. We have, as we work to develop these competencies, if you in the field cannot be able to access them, cannot be able to, identify just where you may stand in terms of your level of competency and determine where there are resources you can access to help you to continue to grow and develop, then what good is it? So we are developing or incorporating these into an online tool that we utilize for our clinical leadership development and for our quality coaches. We're going to be incorporating the more of the C-suite leader competencies into that online learning community so that they can access them and to be able to continue to self-develop along those roles. And we'll continue we're going to be publishing some more case studies, as well as looking to expand our graduate network to include PCA partner programs like the Community Health Center Executive Fellowship Program that operates out of in partnership with the University of Kansas, as well as the Community Health Center Certificate Program that operates out of Mass League and Suffolk University. So we're excited to continue to grow and develop that network to incorporate more leaders into that effort. So if you want to know more, can we move to the next slide? I've listed just about every website that you can find here that will highlight efforts about both NAC, our NCA, our various trainings, as well as the Workforce Summit that I highlighted here momentarily. So please feel free to check those out. Again, the National Resource Center that Allison mentioned in the poll, for those of you who need a reminder about where to find it, it's there for you, so go ahead and check it out as well. And with that, I think I'm going to turn it back over to Allison.
Thanks, Gerrard, and thanks, Amanda. Appreciate those nice overviews. It's nice to get into some of the details once we had sort of the broad strokes of what y'all were working on. We want to get, we have another poll for you folks. We want to get a feel of how you're thinking about your workforce work and how we as organizations with NCAs can work to support you. You know, somebody had asked me recently, how do you three NCAs work together? And the answer is really, it's kind of unofficial, but very lovingly. We do not, as you can see in our goals, we don't have any overlapping goals, which is actually really nice because that means we're all sort of doing different things and working on different areas. But it does mean that we need to think about how to stay coordinated and how we have similar big picture places we'd like health centers to go, even if we don't necessarily have NCA specific workforce goals that we share. So Gerrard, Amanda, and myself, we meet every month to share what we're doing and talk about how we can work together. Gerrard mentioned that Amanda and I are on the planning committee for the Workforce Summit. And then we're also hoping to be working together next year on providing more of this level of training for PCs, HCCNs, and kind of keeping that spirit of professional development for workforce folks in the field alive. And so you'll hear more about that. I do want to give a quick plug for the ACU language that we shared out to primary care associations recently for their non-competitive continuation. There's a number of items in there, including participation in this series, but also being a subject matter expert for us in the field on some of these workforce issues. So if you're seeing any of these activities and you feel like, yeah, I'd like to be involved in that, that's a great way to make sure you're capturing that work in your NCC. But I want to hear what you think is kind of important. So we're going to launch another poll right now that asks you which NCA focus areas are a top priority for you in 2019. This is a special poll because you can select any and all that apply. You don't have to pick just one. We did it that way, so it's not a popularity contest. I hate losing contests, especially on live webinars. So we included the two that Community Health Center Inc. has here, health professions training and team-based care. Just one for us, clinician recruitment and retention, and just one for NAC, non-clinician staff development. So think on kind of what your PCA or HCCN is focused on for the next year, whether it's this project year or as you're writing your PCAs out there, as you're writing your non-competitive continuations. What are the big focus areas that are a top priority for you and that you might want to see some more NCA resources on? So I'm going to give you just 5 more seconds, and then we're going to have Mariah close the poll and let us see kind of what's out there. Ooh, we've got a lot of interesting things. It's nice that everybody checks some of the boxes. Of course, we're always happy to see clinician recruitment and retention up there as something that's on a lot of people's radars. And also health professions training seems to be about neck and neck with non-clinician staff development. So it's great. It helps to see that sort of the workforce elements are really aligned, at least in our NCA goals, as maybe they should be. You know, I think we have this conversation in general about team-based care, which is that, you know, does that fit with clinical? Does that fit with workforce? Where does it fit? And it could be that some of y'all maybe don't touch that as part of your role, but also interesting for us to know as we're thinking about how we can provide more coordinated and comprehensive services for you all. Thanks very much for sharing that, and I'm going to flip over now to questions. We're very excited to hear from you, and I'm happy we have a few minutes because we've received a bunch of questions from you all, and we want to get to them all. So one of the first questions we have here is for Gerrard. It's asking about those core competencies. Where can we get a copy of those?
those core competencies are being sort of formatted for final posting to the clearinghouse. So we expect that they should be up and available, I would suspect, in the next month. So by the time we get to P&I.
Ooh, exciting, just around the corner. So you heard that here, folks. You want to go to healthcenterinfo.org to get that kind of question, that kind of resource from Gerrard and his team. Great, we have another question for Amanda. Who is the target audience for the Advancing Team-Based Care webinars in the National Learning Library and the Learning Collaborative?
Oh,
is
that's
it
a good question.
Clinical staff leadership, providers, PCA, HCCN staff?
Yep. So when I think of, just to start with the PCA HCCN staff, when I think of you looking at the National Learning Library, the audience is the health center. But as a PCA, that information can be incredibly helpful for you in turn to know, what's available for free to your health centers that then can be paired, with other things. So if they're working on, we have a lot of things focused on behavioral health. The series that's coming up is very specific on a variety of different priority areas. So they're very timely. So we actually started our NCA in 2015. So if you go on there, you'll see that the team-based care topics are really paired well with what's happening, in the landscape on a national scale. But the audience is health centers. And so that thinking of team-based care, the core team and the external team. So it could include PSAs. Most team-based care does. So check it out.
Thanks. Amanda, the questions are coming in my chat box pretty furiously. Could you talk about how health centers get into those learning collaboratives? So what's the process? What's the commitment? What do PCAs, HCCNs need to know to get their folks in?
Well, one, I'm very excited that someone asked this question because I've been trying my best to increase my communication to PCAs and HCCNs, and because you have the relationships with them. So let them know that it's actually a formal, we have an application, it's online, and all they have to do is apply. And then there's an interview process, and it's a very formal process, but if you let them know, register for our distribution, they will know when they come. For example, our team-based care learning collaborative recruitment is going to be starting this spring. And the residency training program, that one actually pairs with the actual residency timeline, so it's September. So feel free to email me directly, though, and I can email you all this information. Thank you for the question.
Great, and that kind of leads to the next question here, which is how do PCAs and HCCNs on the line get all the latest news from you? What's the best way to get workforce-specific resources from your organizations?
I'll go first. We would love to add you to our listserv, but you're also welcome to build a relationship with me. I would love to, connect, get to know you all, and it can be personal or it can be more through our e-blast. So both work, or follow us on Twitter. Sure.
And this is
always a shout out for Twitter.
I know.
Sorry, Gerrard, go ahead.
Yes, you are more than welcome to connect with me directly. I think my contact information is the previous slide, gjolly@nacc.org, as well as you can go to our website, nac.org, and certainly you can connect with me on Twitter as well at JustJolly.
There it is. We've officially got everyone's social media handles out into the universe. Okay, one last big question I have here in my queue is, what TTA do NAC and CHCI provide to HCCNs and PCAs specifically? So I guess we're looking for any information or resources that you have that are dedicated to capacity building at HCCNs or PCAs, or will help them actually get resources out to their organizations as well.
Do you want me to go first, Gerrard? So as I spoke, the audience typically is health centers in the context of, the content that's being put out, that it does not mean that it's not applicable to what you're doing. It doesn't mean it can't be paired. So being aware of the resources, I think, is really the best relationship, but also keeping an open communication. I know a lot of NCAs have a lot of activities that are kind of congruently paired with PCAs, that maybe a learning, I've heard the dental one did a learning collaborative with a specific state. So, you know, keeping those relationships open. As Allison said, some NCAs, I think it was high tech, is focused on PCAs and HCCNs, but I think it's really about that cross collaboration and knowing the resources are there and disseminating it. So I look forward to meeting all of you soon.
This is Gerrard. NAC hosts a PCA HCCN General Conference at each of our major conferences. The Policy and Issues Forum, which is coming up next month, as well as the Community Health Institute and Expo, which typically happens in late August, early September. We provide training on topics from financial leadership and development to operations to workforce at PCA meetings at your annual meetings. So if you are interested in that, you can certainly reach out to us with various topics of interest, and we'll work with you to develop various presentations that we can provide for you. We also have a number of collaborations that we do with PCAs, working specifically around emerging issues from adaptive leadership to board development to of course I'm blanking on the other one at this particular point, but there are a number of different areas of emerging issues that we collaborate and work closely with PCAs on to develop in common.
I don't know why I forgot this, Allison, but also conferences. We're looking to come to conferences and speaking to your PCAs, and also you can join the webinar. So please feel free to join our webinars.
Thanks. Yeah, never forget. We love coming here on conferences.
I know.
What are we talking get to get out of the office. Yeah. Great. Well, I'm seeing no more questions from the audience. You have all of our contact information if you want to follow up. And so I'm just going to bid you adieu. Remember, sharing is caring. So connect with each other, with us. Remember that IWS platform, while not formally affiliated with this series, is always available to you. And don't forget to join us next month. We're talking about health professional shortage areas, National Health Service Corps, and other federal resources that are available to you and your health centers. It's going to be thrilling. We're having a guest speaker, our Executive Director, Craig Kennedy, and we hope you'll be there. So look out for the recording of this and let us know if you need additional access to the slides. Thanks so much for being here, everyone, and special thanks to our guest speakers. Have a great day.